Hi everyone, hope you're safe and well. Welcome back to the Horrible Histories Club. Today we're going to be looking at the Bizarre Tsars. Okay, so here's the story of some of history's biggest, baddest and maddest monarchs, the Tsars of Russia. It's a tale of battle, blood and betrayal. So welcome to Russia. For most of its history, it wasn't a proper country at all. Just a bunch of cities ruled by dukes or princes that kept on arguing with each other. In Russia, there were two main types of people: the boyars, the rich nobles who owned the land, and the poor peasants who did all the work. Russia changed when Ivan III ruled Muscovy, the area around the city of Moscow. He got more land by bullying the surrounding lords, including his own brothers. Ivan also decided that being prince wasn't good enough for him. He liked it when people called him a Tsar, which is Russian for Caesar, instead. Ivan's son Vasily became Tsar when his dad died. He used his dad's dirty tricks to conquer more land, and before long he controlled all of Russia. When Vasily died, his son Ivan was crowned Tsar at the age of 3. As a kid, the young Tsar was always getting pushed around by the boyars who hung around the courts. But when he grew up, Ivan took control, torturing and killing the boyars who had messed with him. The poor peasants thought the greedy boyars deserved it. It wasn't only the boyars that suffered though. Ivan declared that most of the peasants were now serfs, farmers who were owned by the boyars like slaves. Ivan's reign of terror didn't stop there. He started his own army of bullies who rode around terrorising the boyars and the peasants alike. When Ivan died whilst playing chess, there were very few that mourned him. Ivan's son Theodore became Tsar. He was the opposite of his dad. He couldn't harm a fly and was a bit dim. His favourite hobby was ringing church bells. Feeble Theodore had no kids. So after he died, the Russian nobles spent the next few years fighting over who would be the next Tsar. It was a very confusing time. In the end, the Romanov family won. There were several brilliant and batty bonkers Romanov Tsars. Most famous, though, was Peter the Great. He was obsessed with making Russia modern and European. Peter travelled across Europe, learning all that he could. He studied metalworking, shipbuilding, and even dentistry. He liked playing dentist so much that he practised on the boyars. Peter built a fancy new European-style capital, which he called St. Petersburg. Hundreds and thousands of serfs died whilst building it. Of the Tsars that followed Peter, some were good, some were bad, and some were just dumb. Tsar Peter III was only interested in playing toy soldiers. His German wife Catherine wasn't impressed. In fact, she hated him so much that she arranged for her brother to be taken care of, while she took over the job of ruling Russia as Empress Catherine the Great. Well, what made Catherine so great? Her court was really swanky, and she was talked about making stuff better for her subjects. But she was really more interested in having admirers and keeping power than helping the serfs. After Catherine died, the Tsars would rule Russia for another 100 years. But finally, angry Russians got fed up with being bullied and decided it was time to get rid of the Tsars for good. So Novograd. So, in 1570, Ivan the Terrible heard a rumour that the people of Novograd were plotting against him, so he and his Oproniks attacked the city. Weeks of death, terror and torture were to follow. Ivan needed money to pay the Oproniks, so his men went around taxing the priests of Novograd. The choice was simple: cough up the cash or get bashed to death. like father, like son, Ivan Jr. was there to cheer his dad on. Ivan joined in the fun, spearing, screaming citizens as if they were human kebabs. Though since the black-hooded horrors were members of Ivan's special gang of Operanik monks. Ivan was a bit like an evil chef. He enjoyed cooking his victims and often had them roasted, fried, baked or boiled. The Operanik's own badge of terror was a broom and a dog's head. It has been said that some carried around real brooms and real dogs' heads. Some scared citizens got tied up and thrown into sledges, which were then pushed into the freezing cold river. Novograd was famous for its beautifully carved wooden houses, and of course they caught fire rather easily. Finally, after weeks of bashing, blood and death, Ivan decided that the people of Novograd weren't traitors after all and went home. Nobody knows for sure how many poor souls had been slaughtered by them, but it may have been as many as 60,000. The people of Novograd said that Ivan's insane attacks spilled so much blood into their river that it didn't freeze in winter for years afterwards. Okay, that's it for today's Horrible History Club. Tune in next week for the next one. Thank you. Bye.